Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good afternoon. Welcome to the day 2 of IMAC 10. Our honorable guest, Professor Dr. Jawad Syed, Professor of Organizational Behavior and Diversity Management, Suleiman Daud School of Business, University of Management Science, Lahore, Pakistan. Yang berbahagia Professor Dr. Wan Kamal Mujani, Pro Vice Chancellor, Strategy and Corporate Development, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia. Yang berbahagia Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Rizal Palil, the Conference Chairman of IMAC 10. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the closing ceremony of IMAC 10. We have come to the end of the event. Before we continue to the keynote address 2, please allow me to introduce the respected speaker. Dr. Syed is a professor of Organizational Behavior and Diversity Management of Suleiman Daud School of Business, Lahore, University of Management Science. His research interests include diversity management, international human resource management, business ethics, and knowledge management. Dr. Syed is an academic fellow of the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, CIPD, United Kingdom, and the Program Chair of European Academy of Management's URAM Gender, Race and Diversity in Organization Special Interest Group. He is a Director of the Global Center for Equity and Human Rights and Coordinator of the South Asian Academy of Management, SAAM. Dr. Syed has an extensive publishing record by having published in scholarly journals including Human Resource Management Journals, British Journal of Management, Business Ethics Quarterly, International Journal of Human Resource Management, Journal of Business Ethics, Gender, Work and Organization, and Journal of Knowledge Management. Dr. Syed recently served as a member of several editorial boards, including the Academy of Management Learning and Education, British Journal of Management, Gender in Management, Equality, Diversity and Inclusion, and the South Asian Journal of Global Business Research. Thus, I would like to call upon guest of honor, Professor Dr. Jawad Syed, to deliver his keynote address with the title Business Education and Engagement During COVID-19 and Beyond. Please welcome, Professor.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning in Pakistan, and I believe good afternoon in Malaysia and the Southeast Asia. It's a matter of great honor for me, not only great honor, but also pleasure for me to be a part of IMAC 10. So I would like to offer my thanks to Professor Dr. Wan Kamal Mujani, the Pro Vice Chancellor of UKM, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Rizal Palil, the Chairperson of the conference, Professor Abu Hanifa Ayub, the organizer of IMAC 10, and indeed Siti Faradila for the invitation and for providing me with an opportunity to participate in this session. That yesterday I happened to attend one session, and today I attended 2 sessions of IMAC 10. And I must offer appreciation and congratulations to the organizers of IMAC 10 for the quality of the content and the quality of presentations which I have seen. The quality of scholarship which I have seen at this conference is very much comparable to top quality conferences in Europe or in North America. So congratulations to all of you. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, as Siti Farah has briefly explained, that my focus in this brief talk is on business education in the context of COVID-19 and beyond. So let me also share my slides with you. I've prepared a few slides. So, okay, so can you see these slides? Let me.
Yes, Prof.
There is, okay, excellent. So business education and engagement during COVID-19 and beyond. Okay, so basically, ladies and gentlemen, my focus here in this specific session is on the stakeholders approach, that how we can engage the multiplicity of stakeholders in perhaps rethinking business education during COVID-19 and beyond. So a multi-stakeholder approach to education, particularly to business education, given that I'm speaking from a business school's perspective, and also a socially responsible response to COVID-19 in our universities and in our business schools. And within socially responsible response to COVID-19, I focus on two things. And those two things I must also acknowledge. Those two things I have learned from my interactions, not only in various business schools and universities in South Asia and Europe, but also through my engagement with various corporations. And those two things are, number one, institutional continuity, and number two, stakeholders' well-being. I would explain these two concepts in the next few minutes. And these are based on my own experiences, observations, and contributions to institutional responses to COVID-19 in Pakistan and abroad. Okay, so first of all, I think that all of us need to make an acknowledgement, and we need to make a confession. Do you see, I'm not sure that whether you recognize this picture. This is the picture of one of the most famous poets of Urdu language or Hindi language in India and Pakistan. His name is Ghalib. Now, Ghalib says something within which we have got a lesson in terms of the gaps, the way we have been designing and disseminating education in any part of the world. So I argue that COVID-19 has not only highlighted our failure as a human society, but also the failure of our higher education institutions and business schools. And why I'm saying this? First, let me refer to Ghalib. Now, Ghalib says there is a couplet in Urdu which says that, according to Ghalib, that कर्ज की पीते थे मैं लेकिन समझते थे कि हाँ रंग लाएगी हमारी फाका मस्ती एक दिन. That we used to drink wine on borrowed money, but hoped that one day our merriment, our enjoyment in adversity will be fruitful, it will come to fruition. Now, Ghalib says another thing also, another couplet, which I have not included in the slide. And he says that, Meri tameer mein musbir hai, ek surat kharabi ki. There is an inherent flaw in the way I have been constructed. So in my very foundation, whether it is the foundation of my society, whether it is the construction of the educational institution, whether it is the foundation of curricula, there are certain flaws, there are certain gaps which need to be addressed. So, ladies and gentlemen, my argument is this, that COVID-19 has highlighted a crucial intersection between business and society. And the failure of us as educators, the failure of us educational administrators, and the failure of us educational institutions to pay attention to this vital intersection, vital connection between business and society, and between education and society, and between business education and society. So let's, for a moment, step back and take a look at the nature of the crisis. All of us know that COVID-19 started as a public health crisis, but then it quickly spirals into a financial crisis, an economic crisis, and a social crisis. And within social crisis, needless to say, that we are also including and we are also confronted with the crisis of education. So as the pandemic made its way across the world, no organization, no university, no school, no academic institution, no society, no community, no government was spared. So the rapid spread of COVID-19 has reminded us of how our well-being is connected with education and management. So this is something because of which I was borrowing ideas from Ghalib, the Pakistani and Indian poet. So in order to better understand how we can ensure that our stakeholders are engaged, and when I talk about stakeholders in the context of universities and educational institutions, indeed, I'm talking about not only students who are the most important stakeholder, but I'm also talking about our faculty members, our staff, our trustees, larger community, government, funding bodies, industries, and so on and so forth. Now, given that my functional background is human resource management and organizational behavior and leadership. Indeed, I would like to borrow the notion of engagement from human resource management and organizational behavior. And within human resource management and organizational behavior, we use a 3S approach. And I argue that that 3S approach may also be utilized in terms of ensuring that our stakeholders in a university or in a business and management school, they also remain engaged. I have slightly modified the 3S approach with reference to education or higher education institution. So the first S, ladies and gentlemen, is to do with say, remain positive about the organization, colleagues, students, and future. Yes, the COVID-19 is upon us. Many people are suffering, many societies are suffering. There are anxieties about employment, there are anxieties about health, there are anxieties about connectivity, but still we have to remain positive. There is a saying in Arabic, which is attributed to Hazrat Ali, the fourth Rashidun Caliph, and he says that that panicking in a state of turmoil is a worse turmoil. So panicking is no option. So we have to remain positive about the university, about the school, about our students, about our colleagues, about our staff, about our stakeholders. Remain positive. And we have to, whatever we say, we have to say positive things, number one. Number two, stay. Giving up or giving in is not the option. We have to stay and we have to fight. We have to feel and we have to inculcate and develop an intense sense of belonging in our students, in our colleagues, in our faculty and staff, in our clients, the external clients, the business partners, government partners, community partners. We have to remain resilient and we have to have the desire to adapt and prosper. That is say. So say, stay. And the third one is strive. That we have to remain motivated and we have to continue to engage in efforts for change and success. Of course, we have to reimagine the way we have been conducting our classes, the way we have been engaging with the industry, the way we have been engaging with the government and the larger community. So we have to reimagine new ways, but at the same time, we should remain focused on business continuity. And of course, our business, if I use this word business, is to impart quality education because we have to develop quality people, quality citizens for any society and any organization. So these are the 3S's approach to engagement, which I believe can also be utilized and customized in context of higher education. Once again, with respect to stakeholders, theoretically, ladies and gentlemen, we can utilize two interconnected principles and we can, in a way, customize them in the context of any higher education institution. And those principles are number one, we have to give voice to all stakeholders. So this means that all stakeholders should have a right and opportunity to participate in decision making. All of us know, particularly those who are senior leaders, such as the pro-vice chancellors and the deans and directors, they know that for a strategic plan, it is extremely important that we have to seek input from all stakeholders. This dimension becomes even more important in times of crisis. So during COVID-19, when we are, for example, designing or redesigning our response to COVID-19, we have to seek input from multiple stakeholders. And connected to the first principle is a second principle that if we needed to revisit our university, our school's mission, objective, and values and goals, then those goals have to be in line with the feedback provided by the multiplicity of stakeholders. So these are two interconnected principles, which I wanted to share with you. Another important thing, ladies and gentlemen, which I wanted to share with you based on my own experience at LUMS here in Pakistan and also in Europe and North America, based on my interactions and observation. is that we also have to be context sensitive. Things, for example, which have been designed in the UK or Australia or North America may be useful to some extent, but not to a complete extent in a Malaysian context or Indonesian context or in a South Asian context. So therefore, we also have to be context sensitive. We also have to customize certain models for our own specific requirements. So therefore, I would argue that there is a need to develop and utilize indigenous insights. There are certain factors, certain variables within the Malaysian context, within the Malaysian higher education context, within the UKM's context, which we need to consider in designing our response. So for example, let me give you an example. Given that Malaysia is a Muslim majority country, but also is a multicultural society, which is something which even makes Malaysia even more beautiful because of the heterogeneity of culture that Malaysia has. But just for the sake of example, I'm offering an example of an Islamic context, but it could very well be a Buddhist context or a Hindu context, and all of those are equally valuable. But let me present the example of Islamic context. So according to the Quran, I will give you only two examples, two very brief examples. In the Quran, there is an emphasis on notion of trusteeship. So Khalifa, the notion of Khalifa, that Muslims are trustees by the divine on this planet, wherever we are, in the Malaysian government, in UKM's administration, as teachers, in LUMS in Pakistan, or wherever we are, we have been given certain trust by God. So that is the principle number one. And for the principle number two, I will go to a tradition of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And the tradition says that give to everyone his or her right. So the word which is used in Arabic language and Islamic terminology is haq. And the plural of haq is hukuk, which denotes something that can be justly claimed, or the rights that different groups and individuals have been granted in law or religion or ethical norms. So these two norms, these two principles, Islamic principles, we have to understand. First, our responsibility as the divine's trustee, number one, and number two, our accountability that we have to dispense rights to multiple stakeholders. So these are the Islamic principles. So let's take a look at the leadership in crisis. And here I would share with you my two lessons which I learned from my interaction with corporate leaders in Pakistan and abroad through various consultancy projects. So you see that last year at LUMS, I conducted a high-profile panel of CEOs in South Asia and abroad, and we invited them because we wanted to benefit from their approach to the crisis. And I thought that maybe there is something which not only other corporations can learn, but also we can learn in higher education institutions and universities and business schools. And with this, I would be very happy to conclude my presentation or this note. So look, they shared with me two lessons which I'm sharing with you as well. And the first lesson was this, that look, we have to remain focused on well-being of employees. They use this word well-being of employees and other stakeholders. I would say that as university administrators, we should remain concerned with the well-being of our students, with the well-being of our faculty and staff and other stakeholders. So in our policies, in our procedures, in our processes, we have to make sure that our stakeholders' well-being remains the utmost important thing. So that is the prerequisite number one in terms of evaluating the efficacy or otherwise of our responses to COVID-19, number one. And number two, indeed, business continuity. I don't know how many of you have seen that film. I think that film, the Hollywood film of 2001, that film's title, it was a musical film. The film's title was Moulin Rouge. And within Moulin Rouge, there was a very interesting song. Basically, the scene is this, that somehow the performers are unable to perform due to one reason or another. And the theater director then sings a song, and the song says, the show must go on. Yes, the situation is difficult. Yes, we are facing something which is unprecedented, but the show must go on. So this means that while we are ensuring the well-being of our stakeholders, the show must go on. we must continue to dispense with our basic duty. And that basic duty is to develop our future generation, whether it is business education, whether it is scientific education, or whether it is technical education. So ladies and gentlemen, these were my 2 cents that the show must go on. But while the show must go on, we should also remain concerned with the well-being of all stakeholders, not the least our students, faculty members, government partners, and community partners. Once again, I really appreciate and thank you for providing me with this opportunity to offer these random thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof Jawad. May we benefit from the insight of the keynote address. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, I would like to invite Yang Berbahagia, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Rizal Khalil, the Conference Chairman of IMAC 10.